Thanks for tuning in to the Travel Royally podcast, sponsored by Royal Links Golf Tours, where we provide unforgettable golf vacations to the British Isles. You can find us at royallinksgolftours.com. Welcome, everybody. My name is Hayden Moore. This is Jeff Bartholomew, my partner in Royal Links Golf Tours. This is the first episode of our new podcast, Travel Royally podcast, I'll be hosting. And I just wanted to have Jeff on here for the first episode to kind of jumpstart us off. Jeff has been going to the British Isles for about 24 years. He's played 85 different courses, 175 rounds of golf. He's been taking his first trip. He took his dad, and ever since then, he's been taking friends and family. I was lucky enough to be brought along when he started a business out of it. And welcome, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, Hayden. I'm excited to be here with you.
Jeff has a list of a lot of friends over in the British Isles and friends over here that we plan on interviewing.
Yeah, Hayden, we're really excited about what we've got planned in terms of podcast guests. So I've lined up a number of great guests. And our first guest is actually going to be someone that I've taken on trips 9 different times. His name's Dale Schmitz, and he's played every British Open course ever except Royal Birkdale, which he'll be playing next year. So he'll be our initial podcast victim, so to speak. And then we've got people lined up like John Murray, who's a golf pro in Scotland, Kevin Thompson, he's a greenkeeper over there, Vince Cellini, he was with the Golf Channel and he's a major broadcaster, a gentleman named Kurt Wagner. Kurt is an older gentleman now, but he's played in more than a handful of British amateur and senior amateur open championships. Neil McConaughey is a friend of mine who is a European Tour rules official for RNA events. Sheena Willoughby, she is a former owner of the Dunvegan, which is the best and most famous 19th hole in golf. Angela German, she's a former LPGA professional and a former teacher of mine. She played in several open championships. We're talking with Todd Hamilton and Ben Curtis, 2 open champions from about 20 years ago. And Tina Cohen, she's a woman that's gone on 2 of the trips. We're going to have an Irish caddy. And some of our partners. So we've got a wonderful list of people that can really get you excited about what's waiting for you over in the British Isles.
Yeah, I remember listening to Neil talk. We talked with him and he had some really amazing stories. We said, what was your favorite story? And he just named off like one of the most famous golfers and how he had to make a ruling on one of his right. golf plays. So I'm really excited for that one. Well, that's really exciting. Talk about how this business became one of your passions and where it all began.
Yeah, that's a great question, Hayden. So like many people, I had a dream of going to Scotland. And in about 1995, I started planning my first trip. I was going to take my dad for his 60th birthday. And we ended up doing that. And we played 10 different courses up and down Scotland over a 2-week period. And there was a point during that trip where my dad said, why aren't you taking more photographs? And I said, because I'm coming back. And I had fallen in love with Scotland and links golf. And I became a student of the British Isles and the golf over there, links golf. And I've gone every year since, multiple times some years, and have taken tons of friends, more than 150 people I've taken over, and it's been fantastic. So about a year ago, when we started this business, I was thinking, I want to do this. And the reason I wanted to do it, Hayden, was that all of my friends that had gone said, you should be doing this for a living.
Yeah.
And, I really didn't have a partner to help me do it. And obviously you're my son-in-law. And I thought, if anyone loves golf as much as I do, it's Hayden. And so it was a natural fit to invite you in. And I'm thrilled that we're co-founders and partners in this business that we call Royal Links Golf Tours.
Yeah, I was ecstatic when you asked me to be a part of this. I mean, there's nothing better than to um, obviously football was my first sport, but golf was my love and passion ever since I was small. So being able to work and have a business like this to be a part of is amazing. Um, Jeff, you just got back from Scotland. You were there for 8 weeks, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about your trip?
Technically, I was there 7 weeks, but
and then you went to a couple other countries, right? The last
right.
week.
Right. We spent, let me see, we spent 6 weeks in Scotland. So for 6 weeks, I lived in St. Andrews, and it was fantastic because I got to know a lot of the people that you would want to know when you're constructing a trip. So these are people that, some of these people were people that I'd already known. Others were people that I met for the first time. So we set up relationships with a lot of different properties, developed relationships with golf courses, and other types of vendors that make a difference. And what I mean by making a difference, when you think about it, or when I think about it, the number one mistake that I made going in the early years was it was all about the golf. It wasn't until about 5 years in that I recognized that really the most memorable times were those times that were spent off the course, where we went to whiskey tastings or distilleries or breweries, or took a castle tour, or went to a live music event. You can go fly fishing, clay shooting, off-roading, sporting events. I've been to 5 British Opens, or Open Championships, as they say over there, and soccer games. And there's just a ton of stuff to do over there. So I built relationships with people that can help us do those types of things. And that's what sets us apart. It's not just about the golf. It's about creating unforgettable golf trips.
Right now, golf trips have been put on halt, and golf trips that were booked probably have been moved back to 2021 and then to 2022. I know you had some difficulty when you were flying into Scotland. You had to quarantine for 10 days, correct? So explain how it is over there right now with COVID and some rules that are going on.
You know, there are 5 nations that make up the British Isles. You've got Ireland and Northern Ireland. You've got Scotland, England, and Wales. So they each have their own head of their government, even though 4 of those 5 are under the English crown, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So they each have their own requirements. In Scotland, well, let's start with England. England is more open than any of the others. They would say that they're fully open, and they're accepting visitors from the US at the moment without having to self-quarantine like I did for 10 days. Scotland is a little more strict, and Ireland is very strict. Wales and Northern Ireland are kind of somewhere in the middle. So what's happened with trips, there were trips last year that got canceled. So if you think about these trips, think of them as a block of trips going to Scotland. All of them got canceled. They got picked up as a block, moved to this year. This year's been canceled. So they've been picked up and moved again. Now, and you know that we have some clients that would love to go play golf in Scotland this fall.
Yeah.
And initially I was encouraged when the UK government said, we're going to open up travel for Americans who've had both vaccinations, and they'll be able to come and not have to self-quarantine. But what changed while I was over there was the situation in the United States, where with the new variants, COVID has gotten kind of out of control here in the States. And I'm reluctant to book people over there now because I don't know what's going to happen between now and the time they would go on their trip, which would be sometime in September or October. So, and the other thing that compounds the issue, even if it was open, September's out in Scotland anyway, because the RNA has an autumn meeting, so you can't get on St. Andrews. There's also part of that month is made up with the Dunhill Links Championship, where they play across 3 courses that most of our guests would want to play, which would be Kings Barnes, Carnoustie, and the Old Course. So there's a very limited window this year. So all those trips that got canceled last year and this year have been moved to next year, which means that there's very high demand and very few tee times, particularly in Scotland. In England, Wales, and Ireland and Northern Ireland, we've got a fair amount of availability. But Scotland is pretty much booked. Now, we do have some availability in April and in October, and those are good months to go. I've gone in April and October and had wonderful trips over there. And so COVID has wreaked havoc on golf travel, but we see it opening up, if not entirely, certainly most of the way beginning next year.
I know we were talking to a group of guys a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying if we could go in the later months that where it's less busy, they would be okay with that. So that might have to happen for some of the groups.
There are a couple of open months next month. April and October are going to be relatively good months for getting people into Scotland and specifically around St. Andrews.
Yeah.
So there's some there are availability issues next year in St. Andrews. They've got the Open Championship in July. That happens in mid-July. So for 6 weeks prior to that, the Old Course will be shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got 6 weeks knocked out there. You've got the month of September that's knocked out. And so you've got 2.5 months of next year that are now blocked. So Ireland will be wide open, Northern Ireland, England, and Wales. We're planning trips to those countries. And we're actually planning trips to St. Andrews next July for the Open Championship. We're getting tickets for that event. And we've got some guaranteed tee times at Dumbarnie Links, which is the newest links course in Scotland. So we've got some exciting things going there. Yeah,
let's touch on, we're kind of encouraging other countries for next year. We have a trip planned for Ireland. Do you want to talk a little bit about our promo trip?
Yeah, that's great. So next April, we've got a trip planned for the latter part of the month where we want to take 12 to 16 golfers to Ireland. And if you go to the website, royallinksgolftours.com, and you go to frequent trips under Ireland, you'll find at the top of that page all the detail around that trip. But it's 7 nights, 6 rounds of golf on some of the best golf courses in Ireland. Well, first of all, we've got a tremendous partner in Caddy Coaches who's going to do a great job. The driver is a friend of ours, so it's going to be a blast. Hayden and I are going to be hosting that trip.
That's the main part of it. You get the company of Jeff and I. So
right, and we're not charging extra for that. So we're going to arrive in Dublin on a Saturday morning. We'll depart on a Friday evening. We're going to play County Louth. It's also known as Baltray. It's number 11 in Ireland. It's a fantastic golf course. We're going to spend the first night in Newcastle, which is where Royal County Down is. On the second day, we're going to play Ardglass, which is number 8 in Northern Ireland. It's a fantastic links. The clubhouse is in Old Castle. It's the oldest clubhouse in golf. That Monday, we're going to take off a day and we're going to do some touring around. We're going to go to Belfast, which is a wonderful Irish city in Northern Ireland. We're going to go to the Crown Liquor Saloon, which is the oldest saloon in Northern Ireland. And we've got a tour set up. It's called the Black Taxi Tour. It goes through the Troubles. And it's just a fantastic tour. Then on Tuesday of that week, we will be playing Royal County Down, which is ranked, depending upon what service you look at, between number 1 and number 4 in the world. I've played it a couple of times. It's fantastic. It's got some of the best views, some of the most amazing holes you'll ever see in golf. It's a great introduction to links golf with not lots, but several blind shots, some drivable par 4s, some wonderful par 3s. It's a great golf course. From there, we'll move down to the city of Dublin. We're going to stay near Dublin, not in Dublin, but we've got a date planned to play at Port Marnock Hotel and Golf Links. It's a Bernard Langer design. It's number 19 in Ireland. It's a fantastic golf course. That leads us to Thursday, where we'll move to one of the oldest golf courses in Ireland. It's called Port Marnock Golf Club. It's fantastic. It's number 16 in Ireland. After that, well, that'll be a morning round. That afternoon, we're going to take a walk around Dublin, take a tour. And we've got a tour set up of the Guinness Brewery, which is a fabulous brewery tour. And you take an elevator up at the end to the highest point in the city of Dublin. It's got amazing views from their observatory. You get a free pint of Guinness and you get to enjoy the views of Dublin. And then on the final day, Friday, we have a round scheduled at the Island Golf Club, a fantastic, very highly rated links, number 8 in Ireland. We're going to play that one early in the morning. We can spend more time in Dublin. And as a crescendo to that trip, we'll have a private dinner. We'll have an award celebration. We'll play a tournament on that final day. The winner of that tournament will get a replica of the Claret jug, which every Open champion has received. And we will depart on that Saturday. So you're basically gone, well, you're on 7 nights, 6 rounds of golf, 2 wonderful tours. And with the partners that we have, we've been able to get great rates. The cost of this tour is $4,985. That includes the golf, the travel on the land, a luxury tour bus, the Black Taxi tour, the tour of Guinness, and the private tour of Dublin. You'll get a welcome gift, and it includes the trophy. The only thing that you'll have to pay for is your airfare and any caddies that you might want. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a fantastic golf trip.
Which one of those courses do you think you should have a caddy on? You know, some courses you like to walk and experience it, but some that I've heard you say that like the old course, you want to have a caddy so that they can tell you all the special things about the course.
Right. I'll tell you what, I played the old course a lot, and I played it 2 weeks ago, and I didn't have a caddy, but there was a caddy in the group, and he read some putts for me and helped me find some errant shots. And that is a course that's so tricky, you need a caddy. So on this trip, when you look at the how we've laid this out, there are a couple of ways to look at this. One, there are championship caliber golf courses. My recommendation is that whenever you play a championship caliber course, you take a caddy. So if somehow you're able to get on one of the championship courses here, Augusta National or Torrey or Pebble Beach, I would recommend taking a caddy there. And over there, I recommend the same thing. So I would recommend that you take a caddy at Royal County Down, Port Marnock, and the Island. Those are the 3 courses that I would take a caddy on. Now, we tend to look at these, you know this, that we tend to look at these courses in 2 types. You've got championship courses, mm-hmm. which are the courses like the Old Course in Ballybunion and Royal County Down and so on. And then you've got members courses. And members courses are fantastic courses. They're just not championship caliber. Mm-hmm. But so on this trip, you could say there are, of the 6 courses that we're playing, professional tournaments have been played on 5 of the 6. So you could say, I'm going to take caddies on 5 of those courses. And that you could take them on all 6, I suppose, but they would really it'd be best to take them on the 3 that I mentioned.
Yeah, and you've told me a little bit about like how championship courses, you may have a more touristy feel, a lot of Americans come into play, and then you have the smaller courses where you really feel like you're in Scotland or Ireland. They have legitimate members there that play there every day, and it's just a different feel. Which right. do you prefer?
That's a great question, Hayden. And it's hard for me to say. And the reason I say that is I love them all. I love links golf, period. Full stop. I love links golf. Now, I belong to a course over there, and I love it. It's not a championship course, it's a members course.
Mhm.
And if I took you there, if I took anyone there, they would love it as well because the people are so friendly. Many of these courses, the members courses, when you go there, they make you a member for the day. So you've got full use of the facilities. So you're welcome into the restaurant, in their lounge, in the men's locker room, or the women's locker room, depending on your gender, and you feel like you're a member of that club. It's fantastic. I love that. When you go to some of these bigger courses, Royal County Down, Royal Troon, they've literally built separate facilities for visitors. So you don't get the feel of, there's a trade-off. You get a championship golf course that you've seen on TV and you've seen
Mhm.
major championships played at, but you've got separate facilities.
Yeah.
So, you know, I love playing Royal County Down, but I love playing County Louth because it's, when I played there, I've played with members. I've gotten to know members.
Mhm.
It's just, you know,
Yeah, I got you.
it's great.
You mentioned the replica claret jug. I want to know when that started, what year, and whose idea was it, and kind of explain the meaning behind it too.
Okay. So what we've done, so I've been studying links golf since the mid 90s. And as I said, I'm a student of links golf and I absolutely love it. So when I went to Prestwick, which is where they had the first 12 Open Championships,
Mhm.
the first several years, what they gave away was a championship belt. It looks like a boxing belt, championship boxing belt with a
Yeah.
big silver medal and a red leather belt. And after young Tom Morris won it 3 years in a row, they didn't have a championship because they didn't have a trophy. So three of the clubs got together, they bought a trophy, and they bought this claret jug. Now, claret is a red wine, and it's French. And you would drink red wine, or you would pour it out of a claret jug.
Mm.
And so that's the kind of the history behind the claret jug. So every championship since, I'm going to guess, 1864, in that range, the winner has gotten the claret jug. So we started giving away a claret jug close to, it's got to be 15, at least 15 years ago on our trips. And the reason that we did it was that one of the things that we like to do is, like, we like to set up games, and we want to help our guests have games to play when they get there so that they don't have to think about, let's play what we play in North America. Let's play
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah.
So we found some European games that are fun to play. And the other thing that we like to do is that we like to have a tournament on the final day. So as an example, let's say that you have eight people going on a trip. And what I've done in the past, I say, okay, everyone, when we get to the airport, everyone gives me a crisp $100 bill. We've got $800 in the kitty. So the first $400 gets distributed through the week on various games, let's say. So we might have low net for the week. We might have the best low round. You might have the low gross round. You might have whatever. And you would give 50 or $100 for those. On the final day, we call that a $400 round, right? So you're playing for $400. And so at the championship dinner, we make that presentation and we give away $400 cash, and we give away the claret jug. And everyone seems to really like playing for the trophy. And then what we ask is that if you win and you have the 400, that you donate 200 back to the dinner to
Mhm.
pay for champagne.
Yeah.
And it's typically a dinner that we have where we're in a private room. The men are wearing sports coats and ties, and we try to dress it up a little and make it like a championship award dinner.
Yeah. That's awesome. When do you plan to take your next trip? Um,
Well, I'm still recovering from jet lag. I got back Sunday night.
Yeah, it's kind of
So,
hard to ask you that after you've been there 8 weeks.
but my intention next year is to go 2 or 3 times. I'm going to go on the Ireland trip in April of 2022.
Mhm.
I want to go on the Scotland trip in July for the Open Championship. Part of that trip we've got lined up. We've got some times lined up, secured at Dumbarnie Links. We've got a Ryder Cup match set up with a course called Scott's Craig. And we've got a golf tournament lined up at Murray Golf Club. That's a 5-day golf tournament. So that's going to be fun. And I could see going one other time in the fall. I would say at least twice next year, though, but April being the soonest.
Yeah. What is your favorite course in the British Isles? I know this is a tough one. Everybody that we've asked, they they look at you and say this is the hardest question ever because they're all so amazing. But if you had one course that you had to, if you had to play one course the rest of your life every day, what course would it be?
Yeah, wow, that's a good question. Let me say this. I'm going to start with this answer, and I'm going to meander through this.
Okay.
My favorite course is Royal St. George's. They just had the Open Championship there. I played it a couple of times. I think it's fantastic for many, yeah, there you go, for many reasons. And the rating system that we created includes the amenities, the clubhouse, the friendliness of the members, the golf course itself, the history of the club, and so on. I love it. It's spectacular. There's no other way to look at it. Now, that's point one. Point two, there are holes over there that attach me to certain courses. So the best starting hole in golf, in my mind, is number one at Machrihanish. You tee off over the ocean. There's no way to beat that.
Mm-hmm.
As I stay in Scotland, kind of moving up the coast from there, Royal Troon, the postage stamp, it's a 111-yard par 3, where 4 or 5 is a more common score than 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
I love that hole. Up in Durness, a very little known course in the Highlands. It's a 9-hole layout. Their 9th hole is a par 3 over water. That's spectacular. It's almost worth the trip itself. The best finishing hole in Scotland is number 18 at Murray. The course that I'm a member at, I could play that hole. I would play that hole over and over all day long. So I mentioned all of those holes that I mentioned are in Scotland. If I move to Ireland, I love Ballybunion. I love Lahinch. They've got a par 3 that's called the Dell, with one of the best blind par 3s in the world. I love that. I love all the holes at Enniscrone, which is one of my favorites. I fell in love last year with Rosapenna, their Sandy Hills links. Another course that I can't wait to play, and you and I are going to have the opportunity to do that because you and I will go over early in April, is St. Patrick's Links, which is the new course at Rosapenna that's opening this year. In Wales, I played a fantastic links called Royal St. David's. It's literally in the shadow of a castle. It was the first time I played it. I fell in love with that Royal St. David's. I visited Tenby. I played Tenby in Wales. It's a quirky members course with some of the most amazing views. They're expanding their dormy house there so that they'll have 7 suites, 5 with ocean views, 2 with views back to the town, which is spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
In Northern Ireland, Royal Portrush and Portstewart. I love the opening hole at Portstewart. I love all the holes at Royal Portrush. And in England, going back to England for a moment, I fell in love with a course, 2 of them a couple of years ago, Formby, and which is a magnificent course.
Yeah.
And then Royal Lytham in St. Anne's, where you open with a par 3. I love that. We've stayed in their dorming house. But I'm going to go back to your original question. That was a really long-winded answer. If I had to play one course over and over, it would be the old course at St. Andrews. It reveals itself every time. You learn something new every time you play it. It's, you know, it, over there, people say the new course is a better challenge. And I don't agree with that. I played them about the same number of times. I think the new course is a fine course, but the old course is just quirky and the greens are magnificent, and it's all the history there. Now, one other course I forgot to mention, and we're promoting it this week, as a matter of fact, and that is Dumbarton Links. I think I've mentioned it once or twice. I played that for the first time. It just opened. I was one of the first Americans to play there. I loved it. And the thing that I love about it, you play through the dunes. In every hole, when you leave the green and you walk around the dune to the next tee box, I said wow 18 times. You're like, and I've never said wow so many times in my life. You're like, and it's like reading a great book where you can't wait to turn the page to the next chapter. And that's a magnificent golf course.
Well, I'm looking forward to that one. You're talking about all these different countries and the different courses. Speak a little bit about how each country is different, how the golf is different in each country.
Yeah, another good question. So if you think about, let's talk about links golf for a minute. Links golf, they call it links land. And that's the land that links the sea to farmland. So this coastland over there isn't farmable, if that's a word. It's too sandy. So crops won't grow on that land. So it's suitable for grazing, sheep and cattle. And it's suitable for great golf courses, obviously, as we've come to know. So I love links golf courses, but they're different. So in Scotland, which is the home of golf, where golf started, you've got some of the best golf courses in the world. You've got more golf courses there per capita than anywhere on earth. And you've got a wide variety of golf courses. And you can't go wrong in Scotland. From there, golf moved down to to England. And they have a similar coastline with similar golf courses. The difference in my mind is that in Scotland, golf is for the masses. It's a very democratic sport. Anyone can play. And in England, it's a little more upper crust. People that tend to join clubs there are more well-to-do, and but you can get on virtually every private course over there, and the courses are spectacular. There are 6 courses there that have hosted the Open Championship. We've got a trip planned for some guests next year where they'll be playing all 6 of those Open Championship courses, and a Ryder Cup venue on top of it. So from there, golf went to Wales, and in Wales, the thing that you would like about Wales, or that people would like about Wales, is that it's very remote. So you're not going to run into crowds of Americans tumbling out of tour buses to play these different golf courses. Yeah. They are amazing links courses. The people are very friendly there. And if you want a real European experience, that's a great place to go, because particularly in northern Wales, they still speak Welsh. They speak it in the south as well. You can't read road signs in most instances because it's in Welsh. And it's probably the most quaint of the 5 countries. If you transition over to Ireland, the courses there are magnificent as well. Ireland is known for having the biggest dunes, so you get a lot of massive like moonscapes with big dunes. I would say it's second in quaintness to Wales, and the Irish are known for their hospitality and their Guinness. So it's a fabulous place to go. Northern Ireland is aligned with England. You've got great roads and infrastructure there. The roads in Ireland and in Wales are more like secondary roads for us.
Yeah.
So it adds to the quaintness, and also probably the need to have an expert driver on your trip. Northern Ireland, you've got some of the best links land in the world. And so amongst those five nations, we can help, our guests pick the best spot for them. And it's not always St. Andrews. We've got people
Mhm.
that are picking England and Ireland and Wales and Northern Ireland over Scotland all the time. And the golf is just as good. So it really comes down to personal preference. And, you know, um, we've got people that have been to all five countries, and we recommend seeing it all over time. And which is another piece of advice. If I could give one piece of advice, don't think that you have to play all the championship courses in one trip. You
Yeah.
can go back, you can play multiple courses. And I can't say strongly enough, you want to play some members courses. They're fun, um, they're more real and authentic, and you get to know the locals, which is something that we love doing.
Yeah, I'm big on culture and like experiencing different cultures. I know that some courses actually their clubhouse is a castle. I'm really looking forward to seeing one of those and just getting in a city where the golf course is in a very small town and you just experience how life is there. I want to
Right.
feel like I'm in a different country. I don't want to see a bunch of, I'm looking forward to the big championship courses and being with big crowds and tourism. That's always fun as well. But I'm looking forward to the small needle in the haystack courses as well.
Yeah, it's funny. There's an overused term to describe those types of courses, right? They call them hidden gems.
In gyms, yeah.
And I know that you and I have started calling them diamonds in the rough, right? Because it's got kind of a golf theme to that.
Hmm.
And you're absolutely right. There are some courses that we take people to they've never heard of. Some of those are on that list that I mentioned for the trip to Ireland, and those courses are they're fantastic. You're just, it's just amazing.
Yeah, it reminds me of playing football in Canada and going to Montreal. Their city up there in Montreal is a French city, and the games are actually spoken in French. So you're playing football, and you can't understand a thing that's going on when they're talking. And so it's really, and you get to go out in the city, and the whole town is just totally different. So I love that. I'm very much looking forward to that. Um, well, this is super exciting. We're going to wrap up our first podcast. Lots of information about links golf, lots of information about future trips, and we hope you enjoyed it. Jeff, do you want to talk briefly about Dale, our next guest, and about kind of your relationship with him and how he's connected to Royal Links Golf Tours?
Absolutely, absolutely. So Dale's an old friend of mine. He's been on 9 trips with us, and he's gone to every country that I mentioned. He's as passionate about links golf as I am. If I don't know anyone who's more into links golf than I am, other than Dale, and he's been a great partner in helping me plan trips for years. When we started this company, he was a sounding board,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got a tremendous experience of of going on all these trips, experiencing the different countries and the different golf courses and the different cultures. So I think he'll give a unique perspective to people that are considering going for the first time, or people that are considering going to a different country for the first time. They may have gone to Ireland and now want to try England, or been to Scotland and want to try Wales, or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm
The
looking
other
forward to it.
thing, so we're really looking forward to having him, and he's very generous with his time to allow you to spend some time with him. But in addition to that, before we go, I just want to make mention of the fact that we really want people to go to the website, which is royallinksgolftours.com. There's a site about 2/3 down the page on the main page where you can register for our monthly newsletter that we're going to start this month. We'd love to have you register. It's the easiest way for us to stay in touch with you. And you can follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. And we're posting every day. And hopefully it's clear that Hayden and I love what we do.
Yeah, if you're interested in any of these courses that we've been talking about, there's a bunch of course descriptions on the website as well. You can learn a little bit about those. So thank you so much, Jeff. I'm super excited and happy you chose me to be a part of this. Till next time.
Thanks very much, Hayden. Have a good night.
Bye.